Hello everyone, a very good morning to all the students in this course of digital communication, and uh, my warm welcome wishes to start with our very first lecture of this course on digital communication. So I hope my voice is properly audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you for the response. Let me share my screen.
Yes.
Okay. Is the screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir,
Okay.
visible.
Okay. So digital communication today, what is the expectation in this course, what is the significance of this course, and how it will help you develop a deeper understanding of Industry 4.0. It's a very important course. So as I talk, I will have an introduction to course, the syllabus, the architecture, then some information about the rules and regulations, and lastly the significance of the course, and then we will start our technical discussion for the first unit. So as you can see, this is the units in this course, and you can see the objectives, course objectives, what is expected in this. So just have a feeling of you know these objectives. You have to understand the importance of modulation, demodulation techniques, different coding and multiple access principles, and wireless communication system. So this is right from starting your journey with digital communication and taking it till wireless communication. So that's for that same reason your unit 1 is talking about the communication fundamentals. Second unit is about information theory and source coding. It is again a very interesting and very important part of digital and wireless communication with error control coding, ECC we call it. And lastly is your wireless systems. So there we will have introduction to the recent technologies in wireless communication, 5G being one of them. So we'll have exposure to all those things. The reference books, they are listed here, and if I refer to any other book or any other literature, I'll share the same thing with you people. Moreover, all the slides which I would be showing to you, discussing with you, uh, will be uploaded on the Teams folder uh, in a day or two after that particular lecture. So you will get the PDF version of the same slides. So as far as rules are concerned, much of the rules are already clear to you, but when it comes to internal assessment, we need to follow whatever guidelines are passed on by the higher authorities. So we have to stick to what has been instructed to us. Apart from it, you have to maintain discipline and academic rigor in your participation. Generally, they are part of our evaluation, be it internal evaluation or some other evaluation. So majorly quizzes will be focus point with multiple choice questions, and assignments also would be of the same nature with a different flavor to it. So I'll discuss more about when the time will come, when the right time will come, and lesser number of tests. Okay, so um, yes, anyone having any issue? Some echo is coming, so I request all to please mute your mic. Okay. So Since the word is there, communication, the word is there in digital communication, it becomes very important for us to understand what is communication. So it is in very simple, plain 4 words, the process of exchanging information. If this process is disturbed, we say there is no communication. When we come to electronic communication, what do we mean? We mean a presence of a transmitter, a channel or medium, and a receiver. Very simple. So I have tried to just brush up these small concepts in the first introduction lecture. So please feel free to express your concerns or anything if you want to wish. You can say in between. So as you can see, when we talk of human communication, two humans, they are transmitter and the receiver at the same time, and the acoustic waves through which the information is carried from one mouth to the ear, that is acting as a channel. So in a similar manner, our transmitter and receiver has a channel in between, and what input is fed to this transmitter, it is we calling as information or intelligence. Why it is known as intelligence? Also because of the data which is being transmitted, not only audio or video, but apart from audio and video, we have data also, and we call it as intelligence many times. Transmitter makes it feasible to propagate this intelligence or information over a very specific medium called as channel. The channel can be a free space, wire, fiber optic cable, etc. Different modes can be there. And at the receiving end, same information is received, and then retrieved in its original form or near to its original form. Why I said near to its original form? Because of the presence of this noise. So this noise gets added. So this noise gets added at various places, and the channel being the prominent place of where your noise gets mixed with your signal. So noise is, understanding what is noise is very crucial, because it will help us retrieving near to original data at the receiver. There will be errors, there will be data corruptions. We need to identify whether there is corruption happen or not. If occurred, then how to get rid of it, how to get the original data. That is very important. So that's why this entire course is kept as the communication fundamentals in unit 1, and second and third unit you can see they're talking about information theory and coding, source coding, and then channel coding, that is the error control, error detection and control coding. Okay. And lastly, with the modern communication technologies. So are we good so far? Someone can respond.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So yeah, these all things we have discussed. So there is an intelligence signal, there is a transmitter, there is a channel, the message is picked by the receiver, noise is added, channel, receiver. If not properly designed, noise sometimes get added at the transmitter itself. So noise is, you can see I have mentioned, it is the general term applied to any phenomena that interferes with our original transmitted information, and we have to get rid of it. Okay. So just a very small question. I hope you all have studied signals and system. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if someone can answer the difference between a stationary random process and a non-stationary random process. Can somebody give a try? Have you ever heard of stationary signals or the concept of stationarity? No issues. If you have forgot about it or never got exposed to it, just a little brush up I require. So stationary random processes. So I hope you all can recollect there are two types of signals. One is random signal and another is your deterministic signal. Okay, so deterministic signal where you have exact mathematical relationship between the input and the output, or different in you know participations from different variables. You know the exact equation, like for example y equal to sine omega t. Here small t is your independent variable, y is your dependent variable. You feed the value of t and omega or f, 2 pi f, you get the exact value of y. So this, given these values, you can always say what will be the y value with 100% determined way. So we are calling it as deterministic signals, right? Whereas random signals, we are not sure what can be the value. But again, we have two different flavors of random processes. Few are stationary and few are non-stationary. What does the concept of stationarity and non-stationarity means, even in the case of random? So don't feel that random means always you cannot say anything about it. You can say, provided if the process through which that random signal is getting generated is stationary in nature. So now we come to our point, what is stationary then? So stationarity is a concept which says that when the joint probability distribution JPD is constant with time, when JPD is distribution, or simply if you say probability distribution density, if it is constant with time, it means there might be some distribution or density functions which we can use to model our random process. For example, though consider a room, right? And you want to predict the room temperature. Now, when you collect the room temperature data for one day, it may be varying between, say, 25 to 30 degrees centigrade. Assume. Now, when you got the entire data for one day, you see that it's looking like random, but still there is a range in which the values of the temperature of that particular is lying. And when you further investigate, you find that the value is such that the mean mu is 26 degrees centigrade and the degree of variance or the variance is around 1.5 degree centigrade or 2.5 degree centigrade. So when you say these two values, mu and sigma, the mean and the variance, you are actually utilizing a very specific density function, which is we call as what? Can somebody say? When you are referring to mu and sigma, the mean and the variance, what type of distribution or density function we are referring to? Anyone?
So stationary?
No, this is stationary random process, but what do we call such kind of density function or distribution function? I hope you might have heard of different density functions like normal density function, Poisson, Rician, uniform, etc.
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir, we haven't. Sorry.
Okay, so that's fine. It's totally fine. So this mu and sigma refer to your normal density function. Okay, so it is a specific function with the I'll share then one more slide with you people later on with the different density functions, their mathematical representation. Now, why we are relating it with our stationary random process? Because still, though the temperature signal is looks like random in nature, but still we have a liberty to say something about its nature. What is that liberty? We can always say that generally the room temperature or the temperature of this room, particular room, has a mean value of 26 degrees centigrade and it varies with 1.5 or 2 degrees centigrade. So that is some information, right? If it is in the case a purely random process, we may never tell. If somebody asks what is the general temperature in this room, we are never in a situation to tell the person who is asking us any right figure. We say sometimes it reaches 60 degrees, sometimes it's reached 15 degree. Nobody can trust. So that is actually a purely non-stationary process, and we cannot comment anything about it, right? So such are non-stationary signal. I hope this difference between the stationary and non-stationary concept is clear to you. If you have any kind of doubt, just feel free to express. You can ask any question, please. So I believe it is clear to everyone. Just once again, in a nutshell, stationary random process, non-stationary random process. Stationary random process for which the joint probability distribution or a density is constant with time. Don't afraid of this term JPD. Just expand it. Probability, density or distribution function. So we are talking about some functions. Okay. So different functions have different properties. We take an example as normal density function. So what is the significance? What is the signature of normal density function? It always tells us about a particular mean value and a variance value. So that is where this term PD. So when your probability function is constant with the time, what does it mean? No matter how much time has passed, you are always able to say that the temperature of the room is having a mean or average value of this, and the variable value across that mean is this. If you are always able to say this, no matter after 1 year or 2 years or 3 years of time, we are saying that probability never changes. Okay, the probability of occurrence of a temperature signal of the room is always following this rule. Okay, so this is constant with time. That is stationary random process. Whereas non-stationary random process, now I have given you example of stationary random process. Can someone give an example of non-stationary signals or random process? Just give a try. Anyone?
So what about the noise around the air, like in the communication channel, the noise added to the transmitted signal?
Okay, very good question. Who is this?
Sir Chirag.
Chirag. Very good question. That's where actually our understanding of noise will come into play. You transmitted some signal. Let's take it is a wireless channel. Okay, it is a wireless signal. Okay, with the free space as the media. Okay, noise gets added during transmission. When you receive it, now you have to get rid of that noise. Now, if you are aware on the basis of your studies which you might have conducted early stage while designing the communication system, that when we use this channel, noise gets added, and the properties of noise is such that it is normally distributed. Okay, so for example, the noise gets added with mean value of say 1.5. Value can be in electrical terms, but I mean just forget about the unit, just take some number. So you are aware whenever I transmitted using this media, the noise is such that it is having a mean and variance value of this. So what I will do, I'll try to develop signal processing techniques to get rid of that noise. Also, the frequency characteristics with which that noise is getting added will help me design filters to get rid of the noise. So understanding noise is very important. So if you are aware, I know this noise, I know how to deal with it. You are saying that it is a stationary random process signal, you can remove it from your signal. But if you are not sure, I don't know how to, what is this noise, where it is coming from, so you can say it is a non-stationary, because its probability of occurrence, it changes with time. Sometimes this value, sometimes that value, you are clueless. That is non-stationary. So majority of communication, I mean, we are lucky to model the noises, and we are lucky to get rid of it. But for example, galactic noise, right? That is highly non-stationary in nature. Galactic noise in the galaxy, whatever communication is happening, I mean, a lot of non-stationarity is there. Okay, I hope it is clear, Chirag.
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, so yes, so my question was, can anyone give example of a pure non-stationary signal with all these discussions? Okay, so I give you one example.
So you just said that galactic
Yeah,
noise
I mean,
is not.
apart from that, so I give you a very intuitive example. For example, it's a philosophical one, right? So you just entered a new, say, institute, university, maybe wherever. You make new friends. Okay, the moment you make new friends, you are not aware how they are, what they will speak. It is only when you interact more, you come to know more about that person, right? So in the initial stage, you are never able to say what will be your friend's review about a particular, say, product or some technology, something like that. You are unaware of the views. It is only with time you are trying to understand, you are developing the understanding. So this communication which might happen between you and your friend, if it is highly unpredictable, you may never know how that person will react or how I will react. That is actually something, philosophical terms, it is non-stationary. Take volcanoes as an example. Okay, I mean, lots of researchers, they do research on volcanoes. When it will explode, it is very difficult to say, though people come up with some predictions that this volcano might erupt in so and so years, but it is very difficult. So it is like almost like very impossible prediction. And much to your surprise, majority of the signals in the world, real world, they are non-stationary in nature. Like, for example, what I'm talking to you people, you cannot predict, okay, what word will come out of my mouth. It, I mean, you cannot predict what next I will say. It is like a non-stationary signal. Entire data communication which is happening, it solely depends on what website people are wishing to visit, or what transactions are people going to do. And this entire data communication is highly unpredictable, though people do lots of mathematical analysis of that data, they come up with their own trend analysis, etc., etc. But if you look at, I mean, you don't know what you will access today on internet. Few of the things definitely you will access, like your email checking, maybe periodically you may be doing, but you may be accessing any kind of media, any kind of you may decide to visit any, say, nature photography website. We may never predict, right? It all depends on, so it is highly unpredictable. Many examples are there, and the real challenges are there when it comes to your technical signal classification. Majority of signals, they are non-stationary in nature. Okay, like comets passing nearby Earth, we may never know when some guest will arrive, might pass through near to us, but people are doing studies with telescope, etc. So all these examples, I just want to, it's my try to make you understand difference between stationarity and the non-stationarity concept. Okay.
Sir, generally we can, in general, we can say that something which is not predictable, or we can relate that to non-stationary.
Yes, but you people being ICT engineers should never fall into saying just that, because if you look at some signal, that definitely might look like random to you, okay, to other people. But since you will be aware of the mathematics, you will analyze that data. And if suppose that data is of the nature that you will see that it is having a minimum range and the maximum range. So this is information, right? This is something which you can tell about the temperature data or some kind of data. That is information. At least you are able to say that, na? So that you are not saying it is a purely random process. That is a stationary random process. Okay. Okay. Shall we move forward? Okay. Silence means okay. Okay. So just a brief introduction to what are transmitters, receivers, channels. So you can see transmitters, they converted it from electronic form, which is suitable for transmission based on your channel which you are utilizing. Output of microphone, all the sensors transmit, they are translating whatever physical quantity is there into electronic signal. What are the major components of transmitters? Oscillators, amplifiers, tuned circuits. Can somebody say what is a tuned circuit? Tuning concept or tuned?
Selectivity of it is tuned. So selectivity for
Selectivity.
particular.
Okay, selectivity is a I emphasize it is a characteristics, but tuned circuits, they are referring to the concept of tuning, where you have a particular adherence to a very specific frequency. You say na, tune your FM to this particular frequency. So that is the concept of tuning. So we use tuning concepts. We make use of local oscillators, etc. Heterodyne principle, super heterodyne principle. I hope you recollect. We will definitely cover in our upcoming lecture. This is the introduction to all those concepts. Okay. Filters, then modulators, frequency mixers, frequency generators or synthesizers, we can call it, and different type of circuits. Communication channel, you are already aware, the medium through which the electronic signal is sent from one point to another. And these are different type of media. It can be a wire, it can be an optical fiber, it can be free space, it can be a media like water. Water can also be acting as a channel in case of sonar wave transmission. Okay, Earth itself, our Earth acting as a channel. Low frequency sound waves, they are traveling through the surface of the Earth. Then we have power line communication channels. It's a lot of different channels are there. Receivers, it is very intuitive. Receiver is selection of some system which will help you decode your received signal into original form. Okay, so in receiver again you have amplifiers, because the received signal might be of very less strength. Then you might need oscillators and different mixing and tuning circuits, filters, demodulator or detector. We will cover all the diode detector, etc. We'll discuss in coming slides. Okay, you can see there is star word transceivers. Okay, so most of the electronic communication is two-way system acting as transmitter at this moment. The next instant it will act as a receiver to receive the data. So it is a two-way communication which makes transceivers. Okay, so we have transceivers at both the end rather than transmitter and receiver. Okay, so transceiver is more realistic, more practical term which we should use. Okay. If our mobile is capable of only receiving, we cannot send anything, then there is no use. So our mobile is a transceiver, both transmit and receive. So noise we have already seen, undesired signal along with the main signal, that is sure. But whether we can get rid of undesired signal, that depends on the nature of the noise. If it is model, we are able to modulate, we can get rid of that with using those models. Attenuation, it happens with distance, so proportional to the square of the distance between the transmitter and the receiver. The more away you are going from the transmitter, the less strength of the signal you will get. And again, a very important point is your media, the medium, they are very frequency selective. Some of the medium channels, they are providing a huge amount of attenuation to particular frequencies, but other signals, they are allowing to pass through them. Again, it is a the channel's physical properties and other stuff. So the concept of simplex, half duplex and full duplex communication is very important. I have tried to represent it pictorially. Just have a look at it. So you can see, when in earlier days we had this antenna at our rooftop and we are just receiving. That was the best example of a simplex communication. Only one direction, only you can receive, no transmission. We could not transmit anything from TV earlier days. Now we can interact. Now we have DTH. That is not simplex. Okay. So this is simplex. Next is your half duplex. Half duplex and full duplex, there is only one difference. It is a one way at a time. One way at this moment, only this way, next moment this way. So it is half duplex. And the rest of the things you can see, they are the same. So your transceiver is having, say, microphone, say audio transmission is happening, but any sensor or transducer can be there in your place. So microphone, you are saying something, this audio signal is converted to the appropriate format through which this antenna will take this input and transmit it. It is received and then produced at this speaker. Whatever is spoken at this microphone, similar way, it is decoded, received at this speaker, and you can hear the audio signal. So one time, second time, these different time instants are there. We call it a half duplex. Full duplex, simultaneous two-way. So we are talking, say, and we are also listening. Sometimes it happens in the nature of conversation, both the parties, transmitter, receiver, they are maybe a fight. They are constantly speaking without listening to other people. So they are able to do that because that is full duplex. So there are certain, in true nature, what is full duplex, when the frequencies at which these two are transmitting and receiving, they are different. That is the full duplex. Okay. So we'll see the concept of time duplexing and the frequency duplexing in the coming lectures. It is just the terms which you are getting introduced to. Are we good so far?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next is very important term is your baseband and broadband transmission. So baseband transmission, like for example, your output of microphone or camera, when you are transmitting directly over the channel, that is the baseband signal. In its original frequency characteristics, when you are transmitting, that is your baseband signal. Whereas broadband transmission, you can see modulation is present. You perform the process of modulation whereby you convert your original baseband signal, be it voice, video, or some other signal, and translate it to some higher frequency signal. Okay, so you are calling that process is modulation. Okay, modulation is the process in which some characteristics of a low frequency baseband signal is utilized to vary characteristics of a higher frequency carrier signal. That carrier signal will carry the original baseband information. That is modulation. So the carrier is fed to a circuit known as modulator. Since we want to do modulation, we will have modulator, and it utilizes the baseband signal. It utilizes the carrier signal. It is a high frequency, carrier is high frequency, baseband is low frequency, and it will transform that signal into a very high frequency. It will transform this baseband signal to the frequency ranges of the carrier signal. So this signal changes the carrier in a unique way. So the baseband signal information, some characteristics in the carrier is changed, be it amplitude or frequency or phase. So accordingly, we are calling that modulation as amplitude modulation, frequency or phase modulation, etc. The modulated carrier means once the carrier is modified in accordance with your original baseband signal, we are sending it to antenna for transmission. So there are advantages of using modulation. We'll cover in the upcoming slides. Let me take attendance also. Okay, attendance taken. So to understand this modulation, as I said, consider a, for example, sinusoidal carrier signal of this form. V equal to Vp sine omega t plus theta, or 2 pi ft plus theta, where V is your instantaneous value, Vp is peak value, F is frequency, theta is your phase angle, etc. All these things it's known to you people. So we say that we take our original information signal, we are also referring it as baseband signal. We vary some property of carrier signal. Now, what are the properties which we can vary? Either we can vary the amplitude of the carrier signal, or we can vary the frequency of the carrier signal, or we can vary the phase angle of the carrier signal. We have choices with us. We want to use baseband original information signal, for example, audio signal, to change some characteristics of the carrier signal. Okay. So the most common methods of modulation are amplitude modulation and frequency modulation. If you are varying the amplitude of your carrier signal, it is amplitude modulation. If you are varying frequency of your carrier, it is frequency modulation. Now, on what basis you are varying? Your baseband signal, your original signal. Okay. So let's see in the form of graph, some pictures. So in amplitude modulation, you can see this is your modulating signal, your baseband signal. Okay. This you can see, as you can see, this is a high frequency signal. Now, originally this carrier signal was like this: constant frequency, constant amplitude. But we can see with the process of amplitude modulation, the amplitude of this constant carrier frequency is changed like this. It is no more a constant, but it is varying in relationship with this original baseband signal. Okay, so we are calling it as amplitude modulation, or amplitude modulated signal is generated. Are we good? Students?
Sir, can you please?
Yes, please, I could not listen. Can you come again?
Sir, can you please repeat this?
Okay, so let me draw it for you. Assume this is a sinusoidal signal, a low frequency signal, which you want to transmit. In practice, we never transmit, seldom transmit low frequency sinusoidal signal. Essentially, what is our data? Audio signal. What we are speaking now, we want to transmit. That is not sinusoidal. That is some signal. Assume the signal which you want to transmit is your information signal is a low frequency sinusoidal signal, just for sake of understanding of the process of modulation. So what you will require? A high frequency carrier signal like this. Pardon my drawing, but this is a constant amplitude sinusoidal, a high frequency carrier signal. So we are calling it as baseband. This is our carrier signal. This will carry the burden of this baseband information. I mean, in another terms, non-technical terms, we can say. But how it will carry? This carrier signal will carry. Either you can vary the amplitude of this carrier signal, or you can vary the frequency of this carrier signal, right? So when you are varying, when you are superimposing this low frequency baseband signal on a carrier like this, means you are getting rid of this portion. Okay, similarly like this. So now it is no more a constant amplitude carrier, high frequency carrier signal. It is a variable amplitude high frequency signal, and that is the process of amplitude modulation. I hope it is clear now.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then what is FM and PM? So in the earlier slide example, the amplitude of the carrier signal was varying. In the case of your frequency modulation, you can see, assume there is a digital signal with ones and zeros. Ones we are representing with high voltage electrical signal, zero we are representing with a low voltage. Okay, so this binary 1 and 0 is there. So whenever a binary 1 duration is there, what carrier frequency you are transmitting? A high frequency carrier signal. The moment a 0 comes with the time, you are changing the frequency of that carrier from high frequency to low frequency. As you can observe, for this entire duration of bit 0, what you are transmitting? A low frequency signal. So in this case, you are not having a constant frequency carrier signal. It is a variable frequency carrier signal, modulated signal. But what is constant in this? Amplitude, as you can see, is common, is constant. But what is varying? Frequency. In this earlier case, frequency is constant, but amplitude is varying. I hope you are able to appreciate the difference between these two types of signal. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so and the third characteristic remains is your phase. So you can see the moment a bit changes from 0 to 1, ideally this signal was coming, occurring like this. Ideally it should have gone like this, okay, like this. But since a bit change has happened, so the phase is reversed completely. Instead of going down, now it has taken a positive phase. Instead of having a negative phase, it has taken a positive phase. Okay, going like this as usual. Suddenly here at this time instant, bit reversal has taken place from 1 to 0. So what should happen in phase modulation? Your phase has to reverse. Instead of this signal going like this, positive phase, now it has taken negative phase like this. So I hope at the transits where your bit is changing its value, the carrier signal is changing its phase. Remember, the frequency and the amplitude is constant, but the phase is changing. I hope you can observe this in this. So all these three pictures, this is amplitude modulation, where the amplitude of the carrier will vary. This is the frequency modulation. This upper one, blue one, is the frequency modulation, where the frequency is varying. Okay, rest of the things, they are constant, amplitude and phase. Whereas in this third option, where you're calling it as a phase modulation, your phase is changing, frequency and amplitude, they are constant. Is it clear to everyone, or any doubt is there? Chirag? Let us
No
talk.
doubt, sir.
Okay. Drupad, thank you for the
Yes, sir.
response. Nirbhay,
Yes, sir.
clear? Nirbhay, everything?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So from time to time, I'll keep on one-to-one dialogue with you people so that you also feel connected. So I think we stop at this point and we'll start from the next topic where we are trying to see the communication setups more in detail, frequency, channel characteristics, etc. will cover. Okay. So we stop at this point. If you people have any query, any doubt, please ask, or else we are good to end this lecture.
So I do have one.
Please.
So in the amplitude modulation, we got to know that we're using a carrier signal. In the low frequency tone, like from high frequency to low frequency, what are we using actually to convert the higher frequency to a lower frequency? How are we actually converting the frequencies over here?
Okay, so plus first thing is when the carrier is always high frequency. First concept is the carrier is always at a higher frequency. There are advantages of higher frequency. There is a reason behind performing modulation. One of the prominent reasons is the size of the antenna. Okay, so the size of the antenna or the length of the antenna which we are using for your system, it is actually proportional to the wavelength. Wavelength, as you can see, lambda is inversely proportional to frequency. So if you are transmitting at higher frequency, you will require a lower size or lower length antenna, smaller size antenna, right? So our aim is to always go for a higher frequency signals, and that is quite evident. Our smartphones, the communication with which they are doing at 2 gigahertz, 1 gigahertz, very high frequency. Hence, the small antenna is very small. They are inside our mobile only. There is nothing like antenna projecting out of our mobiles, right? Because it is operating at a very high frequency. It is communicating at a very high frequency. Okay. So I come to your question, how do we do that? How do we convert a low frequency baseband signal to a high frequency region? So there are circuits for that. There are certain mathematical transformations for that, and we realize those circuits with the help of different circuits. We call it as modulator circuits. So these modulator circuits we will cover in detail in the upcoming lectures. So there your curiosity will be solved, you're satisfied. So there you can have a look at it. So there are circuits, modulator circuits, demodulator circuits, which expose you to the task of this frequency translation. Okay.
Sir, in frequency modulation, why go to lower frequency? You said that we go for a higher frequency at any way. Like we want to go at a higher frequency, but here, why are we going to a lower frequency at?
Where? In which case we are going to low?
Oh yeah, in the binary data here.
Okay.
For the binary data one, we are using higher frequency, and then we are using a lower frequency.
Okay.
We can do that 0 and 1 with amplitude modulation. So why not
We
go
can
for
do.
AM rather than FM?
Very good question. Now first thing is, these frequency which you are looking as high and low, these are actually relatively high and low. But if you look at the overall values of these high and low frequency tones of this carrier, those are very high. For example, the bit 1 represented by the high frequency can be, say, 1 megahertz. Okay. The bit 0 may be represented by 0.96 megahertz. So it is no matter 0.96 megahertz or 1 megahertz. If you look at a very broad view, these are very high frequencies, right? Megahertz is a very high frequency. But when you relatively compare these two, there is a difference. This is a lower frequency.
Got it.
So, but what lower and higher we have earlier talked about here, this is actually a lower frequency baseband signal. इसका रेंज कितना होता है? ऑडियो सिग्नल, टेक एग्जांपल ऑफ ऑडियो सिग्नल, इट इज इन द रेंज ऑफ किलोहर्ट्ज, whereas these carriers, they are in the range of megahertz, gigahertz, like that. So when I refer to lower frequency baseband signal, we are talking of very, very low frequency. When we are talking about carrier signals, we are talking about very high frequency, megahertz, gigahertz, like that. But with very specific reference to this frequency modulation, when we are referring to high frequency and low frequency, be aware it is not that same low frequency of the baseband signal. No, it is the low frequency which is relatively lesser than the high frequency of this carrier signal. I hope it satisfies your curiosity.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So with this, lecture is end. Thank you, everyone.